Welcome back to Money Talks with Dad. Hi, Dad.
Hey, daughter.
Hi. We're talking about debt today.
Fun.
I know nothing about debt. I'm incredibly good with money.
You do know about debt.
I do know about debt.
You just don't know the depths of debt you've ever been in.
Yeah.
Because
before I got married, I lived with you, and you were very good about keeping me on track. And then I married someone a lot like you, who's also really good at helping me with money.
we had guardrails on you.
That's right. I need my guardrails.
We did try to teach you a little bit about debt.
Yeah.
Remember we talked about this in one of the early episodes about how you always were an envelope person.
Yes.
And
that
we
feels
had
so good to my
Mom's
brain.
logbook of your account.
Yeah.
Which was your allowance money.
Mm-hmm.
We used to kind of let you guys go into debt.
Yeah. And I think that was good.
Because you would be
lesson.
like, hey, I want to buy this for $100. And we'd say, Corinne, you have 50.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can I go into debt?
Yeah. I remember that. I do remember that. That happened a bit, actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
So we kind of tried to teach you that getting things early
mm-hmm.
is not always the best, because down the road, you have to pay it back.
Yeah, see, what I got from that definitely was you can get through the debt. You can get it early, and then you'll get through the debt, and you'll be fine afterwards. God will provide.
Which is why we were glad you found somebody who's fiscally responsible.
Yes.
We got to know our money personalities.
Uh-huh.
And that for a free spender, that can be very, very dangerous.
Oh, it absolutely can. Yeah, no, I mean, it's all funny, haha, but I definitely know that if I didn't have you and Dustin in my life, I definitely would be just drowning in debt, probably.
Yeah. And we talked about this also earlier, because my parents were very strict in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they raised us right to tell us how bad debt was.
Yeah.
And I doubt, other than a mortgage, I don't think they ever had much debt at all.
That's awesome.
They only paid for it if they had the money.
Go grandma and grandpa.
But because they were so strict, I talked about when you get to college,
Mm-hmm.
hey,
whiplash
you have
effect,
no
yeah.
credit. Here's a Discover card.
Yep.
And
Free money.
yeah, and you're like, okay.
Yep.
And until that bill starts coming, and you're like, I now don't even have enough for the minimum payment.
Yeah.
And I also really liked going out to eat every day.
Yeah. You get used to a certain lifestyle.
Yeah. And so it can immediately be dangerous to young people.
So would you say that all debt is bad debt then?
I should say that's a good question to start.
Thanks, I know.
All debt is, I should say, debt is good if it's used for something.
Hot topic.
Yeah.
Debt is good.
Yeah, please don't clip just that. Debt is good if it's used for something that is going to provide a higher value down the road.
Okay.
The easiest example of that is a mortgage for your house.
Okay.
In general, unless you bought just before the housing bubble,
Mm-hmm.
or you bought and sold your house too quickly,
Okay.
or you bought a money pit,
I can relate to that one. That one's feeling
a fixer-upper.
It's feeling familiar.
Thankfully, you bought it at the right time, and
We did.
the value is way up.
Yeah.
But the cost to maintain it is also up.
Yes.
But in general, because the house, and we'll do a whole episode on housing.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to get this concept out there on what is good debt.
Okay.
Because the house should be worth more down the road.
Uh-huh.
Ask Doug. Maybe, there's sponsor opportunity there.
There you go.
Find a good realtor anyways.
Yep.
The house should be worth more down the road.
Okay.
Debt is okay because, yes, you're paying some interest, but you're also getting value. You're investing in that.
Okay.
So that's the easiest one to figure out.
Okay.
Business debts, that's a way above what we want to talk about on this topic.
Yeah.
The other gray area is, say you live somewhere where we do, and we talked about that, I think, before. One, Virginia has state safety inspection, so it's hard to find a good used car, any used car,
Yes.
for an affordable price. If your car just blows,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have that emergency fund to drop $10,000 or $15,000,
Yep.
you have to get to work, obviously.
Right.
And I don't know what world Dave Ramsey lives in. It's not Virginia.
Definitely.
Especially rural Virginia where we're at, and there's no public transportation.
Yeah.
You have to take on debt, unfortunately.
Yep.
Because, and this is why it's okay,
Mm-hmm.
you need that debt to pay to get you to work.
Okay.
because you're providing income.
Right.
You got to be careful with what interest rates you pay, how much you put down. It
Probably
doesn't.
don't buy like the nicest, fanciest, newest car. You
I was
think?
just gonna say that. It was like, you don't buy the new, was it latest Sienna van,
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
like the 2025.
Mm-hmm.
You find something reasonable that is going to reliably get you. It's going
Yeah.
to pass your safety inspection,
Yeah.
and then you figure out a way to pay it off as soon as possible.
Okay.
So that debt's okay. And
Okay.
I understand. Again, Dave Ramsey will say no car debt. We'll say sometimes life happens and you have to get to work.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you just can't find a good used car.
Right.
So that's our, well, I mean, we kind of outlined everything, but
Yeah.
talking about cars, you just mentioned you don't have to buy a new one.
Right.
And I don't know what the exact numbers are. They always say like a car loses 10% the second you drive it off the lot.
Right. Yeah.
And it's true. There's markups on there.
Yeah.
In 2021, I bought a 2021 truck,
That's right.
but it was used,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like $20,000 cheaper because it was used, and it was during
deal.
the post-COVID.
It was used, but the same year.
Yeah,
So someone was like, "I'll take this
They-
truck. Never mind."
they drove it for 7,000 miles and said, "Never mind, we can't afford it."
Oh wow.
And so we bought it for $20,000 less than the brand new 2021s.
Sweet deal.
And so it's definitely true. You got to be careful. So
Okay.
just going out there getting debt to have a brand new fancy vehicle is not good.
Okay.
You know, the rule of thumb is generally you should try to keep your car 7 to 10 years.
Right.
If you do a 3-year loan, if possible, that means you're going to have a lot of years with no car payments.
That's perfect. Yeah.
And then the trick, say you're paying, which I think the average car payment now is like $700 or $800, which is just blows me away.
That's insane.
Like not to sound old, but my first mortgage in 2003 was like $900.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Jeez.
but there,
Dad,
so
you're really old.
I am really old, but you also were alive then.
That's
so.
right.
But what I'm saying is, say you're paying $700 a month
Okay.
for 3 years,
And that's just for your car.
just for your car. But then imagine, this is where the debt can be okay.
Okay.
You keep getting used to paying that 700,
Mm.
but now once it's paid off, you invest that 700 for the next 6 to 7 years.
Right.
And now all of a sudden you have a down payment for the next vehicle.
Fantastic.
If not paying outright cash.
Right.
And you keep saving that 700 instead of spending it on a car. So
Awesome.
life will happen and you might have to get car debt.
Yeah.
You don't have to have car debt for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I see when I work with people doing financial plans is I've seen people 65 and ready to retire and still spending like $1,400 a month just on car loans.
Oh my goodness.
And they don't have any investment savings. So over half of their Social Security checks are going to car loans.
Okay. Wow.
You can't live on that. So when people
No,
say, I
that's
can't live on
insane.
Social Security, usually it's because they have so much debt.
Okay.
So the sooner you get in the mindset of, yes, I have to have car debt this time,
Yeah.
I'm going to do everything possible so next time I don't have car debt.
Yeah.
So that's when debt's okay.
All right. Are there other okay debts? I mean, I'm sure there's others, but any that you can think of?
Yeah, so going back to the framework of, am I doing something, borrowing money on something that'll add value?
Mm-hmm.
So a house, obviously, a car, because the value it's adding is it's getting you to and from work, and
Right.
you're making an income.
Yep.
Sometimes if you're selling a house and you know you need to put $25,000 into a new roof,
Yep.
and that's going to allow you to get a higher price. Again, ask Doug
Yep.
on how all that stuff works. I won't begin to imagine like what
Yeah.
pays off, but ask a good realtor.
Mm-hmm.
How do you determine, is this good debt for my house?
Okay.
Am I going to get the value back for that?
Right.
I believe I've seen people, debt for a pool probably doesn't pay for itself because
Yeah.
insurance costs, everything like that.
Plus, just maintaining the pool once you have it. Like,
Exactly.
Those are expensive, man.
Yeah, all of that goes into it. You're probably not making your money back.
Yeah.
There's a whole other economic concept. Again, 2025, I guess we're previewing. There's an economic concept called utility,
Okay.
which you can't put a dollar on, but it's the personal value you
Oh, okay.
feel.
Nice. Like my Duncan.
Like,
That's what I heard, Dad. That's what I heard.
If you're not hurting your budget, Dunkin' can be a utility need.
Don't look at this, okay?
Oh, you're cheating on
my
Dunkin'
bestie
today.
from Arizona's visiting, and so we went to Starbucks because she doesn't like Dunkin'.
Well, that's because Arizona they have like 4 Dunkins.
Yeah.
And they're not very good.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But they just don't know.
East Coast Dunkin's all right.
Yeah, Dunkies is the way to go.
It's the way to go. But
we'll
she's
convert
also
her
got.
if she comes more often.
We will. We'll get there.
We won't mention the place she loves. The sugar.
We don't have one. I love it. No, when we go visit her, I tell them all the time when I'll go, if I end up having to go to a location that she doesn't work at, it's called Dutch Bros. And I do, and I always go through and I'm like, my sister works at a different location. and they're like, who's your sister? And then I tell her, and we really look alike, so they totally buy it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah.
Well, that's
Dunkin',
kind of a, I mean, I know we were digressing.
Yeah.
And we'll jump back to other debt that might be good.
Yeah.
If you're using your credit card and not paying it off to buy your Dunkin' or Dutch Bros or Starbucks,
yeah,
please stop.
That's problematic. Yeah.
You are not getting your money back from that.
Right.
You're paying interest. Again, this is if you don't pay off your credit card every month.
Yeah.
You pay interest. And right now, interest rates are anywhere from like 13 to 18 to 20% on credit cards.
That's a lot.
It's extremely high. So that means about every 4.5 years, that amount is going to double. You're going to pay double what you paid for your coffee.
I love coffee, but that might be too much.
Exactly. So that's extremely bad debt.
Yeah.
If you don't have the money and it's something you're consuming. Mm-hmm. So food, drinks, eating out, or movies.
Yeah.
Anything you're literally getting no value. I don't care what the utility is. If you can't pay it off, you're never going to make your money back.
Yeah.
So that's the bad debt.
Oh, man.
The gray areas are, fixer-uppers for your house because you're going to be able to pay it off. You need it to live there. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's, good debt.
Yeah.
The other one, which isn't so much available anymore, if at all, maybe if the interest rates come down more. Mm-hmm. But for the longest time, post-COVID, they were doing 0% for sometimes 6 months, 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
And at the same time, and this is kind of an investing decision,
mm-hmm.
we were getting 3, 4, and 5% lately on money market accounts. So our savings account was getting 5% interest.
Okay.
If Green Sky was one, Goldman Sachs, Synchrony,
mm-hmm.
if they're going to loan me money at 0,
yeah,
and I'm going to make 5% by keeping it in savings,
yeah,
that is good debt. The caveat I always add is they're going to tell you, if you read the fine print, and let's say it's 2 years.
You read the fine print?
I do read the fine print because I'm like, there's got to be a catch. What's the catch here? This seems too good to be true. It says if this is not paid off in full, so say you borrowed $2,000 at 0% for 2 years.
Okay.
If you have any sort of balance at the end of 2 years, they're going to retroactively go back and charge you interest for that entire time on the entire $2,000 at sometimes 15, 18,
sneaky.
20%.
That
very
feels
sneaky.
very sneaky.
It is very sneaky. And if you do the math, the minimum payment they make you pay
mm-hmm.
will not be enough to pay it off. So, loophole.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if anybody's doing 0%. But when they do again, because people will do it.
Yeah.
Especially when the economy gets bad, they'll start doing this stuff to try to make you spend money.
Okay.
So say it's $2,000, 2 years is 24 months.
Okay.
I'll take 2,000 divided by 23.
Mm-hmm.
That math's too hard for me to do right now this
You and me
early
both.
in the morning.
Yep.
But then I'll set my automatic payment to be that amount.
Okay.
So it's coming out of my checking account. I'm guaranteed to have paid it off before month 24.
Perfect.
So then I got free money.
We love free money.
We do love free money. So that's when debt's okay because you're basically taking advantage of the banks who are trying to take advantage of people not reading the fine print.
Oh, okay.
So, but in general, those deals are too good to be true if you're not careful.
Okay. So definitely read the fine print.
Yeah, because buying money, I mean, you've seen how our family goes through furniture. Mm-hmm. 6 kids, dogs.
Yep.
Spending any sort of debt on furniture is very bad use of debt because you are not selling that on Facebook Marketplace.
That's true. Yeah. So going into debt to like furnish a house. So getting a house, good debt.
Right.
Furnishing a house, bad debt.
Bad debt.
Okay.
Facebook Marketplace.
Yes. Oh, I love Facebook Marketplace.
Yes,
I've
you
got a
do.
couple of friends that are just queens of Facebook Marketplace.
Please be safe.
Oh gosh, yeah. I'm always like, Dustin, let's go.
Yeah.
You know, or Dustin, you go.
But
Or
yes.
if I have to go alone, I always have my German Shepherd with me.
Yeah. The bargains are insane though. That
Oh, there's such sweet deals.
you can be frugal. Thrift stores.
Love a thrift
Please
store.
don't use debt to furnish a house
Okay.
because as you see when people sell on Facebook Marketplace, a $3,000 couch for
Yes.
$100 if you pick it up.
Yeah. Weirdly, it's not in perfect condition and stuff, I've noticed, which is
It's
super
not,
strange.
but it's still there's no way anybody was getting $3,000 the second it was
Yeah.
delivered to them.
Oh,
it was
absolutely.
worth maybe $1,500.
Yeah.
You know, because we always joked. I don't know. Anise says Sam Levitt's still around Tucson.
It's Ashley Home Furniture.
Home Furniture.
Ashley.
Ashley Home Furniture.
Ashley Home Furniture. Okay.
Do they
we have
still
Ashley
do
here.
like? Let's see. This is airing in December and January. Are they doing like the Martin Luther King Day sale? You know, like
There's always a hot sale when the holidays come.
there's always a hot sale.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how they get you to the
Yep.
furniture
But
places.
it's a fake sale because
Right.
they just make it look good, but it's not.
Yeah.
Fake sales.
Fake sale.
Yep.
So is that kind of like where they'll be like, this couch or this chair is usually $5,000, but we're marking it down to only $1,000.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
We love a fake sale. I
Fake
mean, we
sales.
don't, but
Furniture
it's so
companies are
funny to like
notorious, but
see through it. So
but we would
obviously.
always laugh because it would be like, you know, January 1st, and of course it's the New Year's sale.
Yeah.
And then January 10th, it's the post New Year's sale.
Yes.
And then it's the Martin Luther King weekend sale. And then pretty soon it'll be the pre-Valentine's Day sale. Like,
Right.
they're always just trying to get you to spend money on furniture.
Yeah.
Very, very, very bad debt.
Okay.
Very, very dangerous to use their no payments for this many months if you're not ready to pay it off.
Oh, that's dangerous.
It's very dangerous. Trust me. I've fallen for that too.
I was gonna say, I was like, wait, that actually sounds like a good deal, though.
We could do a young Jeff.
Ooh.
That would be a terrible like
Money Talks with Young Dad.
Oh my gosh, that would
Pre-dad?
be, yeah, pre-father.
Okay.
I was so bad. Like everything I'm sharing is mistakes
Wow.
I've made.
Dad, look at you. We love growth. We love growth.
But it was bad.
Okay.
Furniture, like the same way. I'm like, I got this empty apartment.
Yeah.
Hey, no money down, no payments for 6 months. I'll have that money in
Sweet
6
deal.
months.
Yeah. What? And you probably didn't really have Facebook Marketplace back then,
We
did
did
you?
not Hey, we did not.
What did you have?
We had Craigslist.
Craigslist, yeah.
Yep,
Or
we had
eBay? I don't know. eBay?
Yeah,
yet?
eBay was starting
Okay.
out. Yep. Or
Look at me.
late 90s. Look at you
I'm
remembering.
old now.
But yeah, you did not have that stuff. You had
Yeah.
classified ads in the newspaper.
What's a newspaper?
Good question. Did you ever think I would not get a newspaper?
No, I really didn't. I think that's like a core memory of mine is you reading the newspaper
right.
physically.
Yeah. Now I get it on my Kindle, but
Yeah.
I still read the newspaper. You just
do.
don't know I'm reading the newspaper.
You just don't need it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But classified ads, that's how we used to do it. Anyways,
Yeah.
furniture, huge mistakes.
Okay.
Please, please, please don't go into debt to buy furniture.
Okay. So, housing is okay and some cars can be okay, right? Because it's like you're putting money into it and it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
worth it later. So, what about like student loans? Because you're putting money into it to get the education, to maybe get a better job. I'm not a college girly. Weirdly, I didn't need a college education for
To be a stay-at-home mom.
motherhood, yes. And so you're welcome for saving you that money. But so yeah, what do you think? Student loans.
Yeah,
debt?
I
Bad
think
debt?
our TikTok blew up when I had the audacity to give my hot take, and we'll probably do a
Hot
whole
takes.
episode on it.
Okay.
I kind of go back to everything we've said about debt.
Yeah.
Can you assume that this debt is going to give you more money down the road to pay for the interest cost? That
Okay.
gets to be really hard with
Yeah.
an education, especially in today's economy, is you could get a 4-year degree and then every job says must have a master's degree.
Right.
Well, if by then you're trying to start a family and get a master's degree,
Yeah.
that's more debt. You might be spending $100,000 to maybe make 10,000 more per year.
Wow.
You know, and so that's where you got to decide, is it worth it? There's ways, again, we'll do a whole episode on college
Okay.
and ways to pay for it, but
I won't be needed for that episode.
you actually will because you have children.
That's true. All right,
And
that's
and
true.
we could share your experience because we had rules and you did try a little bit of trade school
Yeah.
for
Tried a
one
couple.
class.
For like half of one
Yeah.
class.
But there's better ways to spend money, but you got to really be
Yeah.
careful because even sadly, doctors
Mm.
could be $200,000 in debt, and then unless they're going to go into a specialty,
Mm.
they're not going to make their money back.
That's insane.
Isn't it insane?
Like for doctors.
that used to be guaranteed.
Right.
You're going to pay it back, but now because the way healthcare is, again, another. Courtney, are you jotting down all these 2025 episodes? Because yeah,
There you go.
healthcare.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
healthcare is so ridiculous, and so even becoming a doctor doesn't mean you're guaranteed to make your money back on student debt.
That's crazy.
And
So, student loans is bad debt.
most
Don't go to
of the,
school, kids.
I'm not saying that. Don't borrow money to go to school if you have cheaper options
Okay.
locally.
Yeah, or locally or even online too.
Yep.
That's what Dustin's doing is
Mhm.
he's taking some college classes. I mean, like he's already in a career and everything, doing his whole thing, right? But to further his education
Yep.
and whatnot, he's doing it all online, which is cool. The one that he found, which I don't know what it's called.
Western Governors still.
That sounds right,
Yep.
actually. Yes.
And they specialize in a lot of IT stuff.
Right,
Because you
so
can do
it's-
IT remotely.
Yeah. And so it's nice to he gets to like make his own pace with everything.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So yeah, locally and then also maybe online as an option.
As an option, they typically have better payment plans.
Yeah.
You're still borrowing a little money, but you're making it back because it is his own pace. He's
Right.
taking classes that immediately apply to his job.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, just check out the local options. One reason we moved to Virginia from Arizona was within like a 40-minute drive, we have something like 8 in-state schools.
There's a bunch, yeah.
So whereas when we lived in Arizona, you had University of Arizona, which was 25, 30 minutes from our house. And then you had Pima Community College.
Right.
So you guys could live at home and save money on that.
Yeah.
And we got in-state tuition.
Right.
But here, your brothers have so many options.
Yes.
To save money in-state, please try to not borrow money. Like
Okay.
if you're borrowing money to pay out-of-state tuition to get a degree that may not pay you
Yeah.
a bunch of money,
Yeah.
I love that people chase their career fields.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's probably better ways.
Okay.
I went to Northern Colorado, which is a podunk little university back in the olden days, in and out with like, I think my
Sorry,
total.
Northern Colorado.
I mean, they're Division I now.
Oh wow.
But I think in and out $20,000 for a 4-year bachelor's degree in finance. And my education though was probably better than University of Denver, which was over $100,000 a year
Wow.
because they were private.
Oh, because they're private. I was like, why?
So in finance, are you going to make a lot more money? Maybe.
Maybe,
Maybe
yeah.
if you go to Harvard versus Northern Colorado, you might make a lot of money. But
Yeah.
if I'm going into marketing, the difference between University of Arizona and Penn State or somebody,
Yeah.
where you might pay 5 times the price at Penn State versus in-state at University of Arizona, you're not going to make your money back ever,
Okay.
ever.
Yeah. So then I think I have a guess as to what your answer is going to be. But what do you think about paying to like live in the dorms and stuff like and like I don't know. I feel like there's a lot that goes the college experience, right? Like paying for the college experience. You're super on board with it. You're totally you totally
well,
encourage that.
based on young Jeff's experience, where I did live in the dorms,
Yeah.
it could be a good experience, a good life experience.
But financially?
Financially, it was such a waste of my parents' money and my money when I had to pay it back.
Sorry, Grandma and Grandpa.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry.
No.
It's an experience. And if your family can afford that experience without going into debt, more power to you.
Okay, but that's not something that you would say, no, go into debt for that.
I wouldn't.
So amazing.
Yeah, because you could get into a lot of other debts.
Like a lot of other debts is what I'm thinking, right?
Yes, including maybe flunking out of college.
Yeah,
hypothetically.
yeah. Hypothetically. What about like medically, I would imagine when you're in dorms, I think that all the kids in dorms are just very like focused on their school, right? I never
Yes.
went, but no, I'm pretty sure that it's all the stories I've heard is they're very focused on their schoolwork.
Yeah.
They're very studious.
I
They're
mean,
very,
I literally
not-
was on the quiet study floor.
and there was no risky behavior, right? So it's
None.
unlikely
It was,
that
like the best students lived on that floor.
that's what I thought.
Not the ones where the parents were like, you need to be on the study floor or else.
So to kind of, it'll tie into the next question then that I had was like medical debts. Because like
yeah.
some medical things is what I was kind of getting at is in the dorms. Let's call it food poisoning, or
Yeah.
or falling off of balconies, or tripping and falling down the stairs because of so tired from studying.
That's right. They were up all night studying.
All night studying, yeah.
Um,
But yeah, what about medical debts? Because I mean, like you're spending the money
mhm.
to survive another day.
Yeah.
Good debt?
Well, and honestly, I don't know how it is now, but the college health plan was probably one of the best because you had the
Really?
student clinic,
Oh, okay,
which was
sweet.
eye-opening when I couldn't go to the student clinic when I dropped out of college, and I had to pay like normal person's
Yeah.
co-pays at urgent care, and I'm like, I thought this was part of my student plan, but I don't know what that cost because they roll that into it. But
Yeah.
so medically, I'll just say again,
Outside
pull
of
it-
college. Yeah, medical.
outside of college, in college,
Okay.
they'll try to make you pay as much as they can get out of you.
Yeah.
They also know that it can be expensive, and they typically will work with you.
Yeah.
The mistake you can make with medical bills is actually not turning them into a debt by negotiating.
Okay. Yeah. I think like, so the only real big medical bills that we've had mostly was like childbirth.
Yeah.
And so I know like a big thing that mom suggested to me, right, was like when they gave me the bill for $8 million, basically, mom
And that was your
like,
out of pocket, not what
yes,
insurance.
exactly. Mom was like, get an itemized bill, right?
Yeah.
So then it kind of like forced them to explain
Mm-hmm.
that $500 Tylenol that they tried to give me,
Yeah.
right? Things like that, right? So
Yep.
what other negotiating is there?
Yeah.
other
So your
than-
mom was the pro at that because
She
6
was.
kids.
Yep.
The twins who were born a month early,
Yep.
cesarean, emergency cesarean on a Sunday night.
Yep. Yep.
And then needing a little bit of, thankfully not much NICU.
Yeah. A little NICU babies.
And then some surgery before age 2, like
Mhm.
a lot of expenses. Your mom became
Yeah.
the pro.
I was the cheapest baby, basically.
You honestly were.
I probably was. I think. Oh my goodness. Yeah, those twins. That was
Yeah.
an expensive delivery, but yeah,
But she became very good at, okay, call the hospital.
yeah.
When that bill came, immediately, don't ignore it. Don't be like, $5,000. We can't afford $5,000. I'm going to throw that in this drawer.
Gonna wait for
I'm going
that.
to put in
to
the
be
freezer. And if
that is a problem for tomorrow.
and so she was very good at calling him up, getting the itemized bill,
Okay.
saying, well, I don't remember this. You could sometimes get them to just waive things.
Okay. Cool.
Remind me when we do the medical
Yeah.
episode to talk to you about when I was banned from Tucson Medical Center.
What?
I'm sorry, Tucson Orthopedic. Hold on.
Okay. I'm gonna have to pause.
No,
Yeah.
no. I was negotiating my payment, and they didn't like me
It's giving
negotiating.
Disneyland. It's giving Disneyland.
But that's on our healthcare episode.
All right.
But I learned from your mom, you question every charge.
Yeah.
And she would then say, well, we can't afford $5,000.
Yeah.
They're like, what can you afford? You do not say this.
$7.
Yeah, you do not say this to when you're buying a car,
Okay.
which that you never say, because they'll always try to get you. How much can you afford per month?
Ooh. Okay.
Nope. Say, my budget is $12,000.
Oh, okay. So with a car, go
Yeah.
into it with this is what my budget
Yeah,
is.
because they'll try to talk you into, well, if we did a 10-year loan, I can get you into this car for $400 a month. Like they get you that way.
Okay. That's
But
sneaky.
medically, they'll say, what can you afford? And she might say, we can do $120 a month. And they're
Okay.
like, okay, let us give this to our finance department. Yes,
Yeah.
you're going to pay interest,
Mm-hmm.
but you at least then have a payment plan.
Okay.
If you ignore this, and this is young Jeff speaking from experience, guess what they will do after about 3 months
Oh,
of no
boy.
payment and ignoring it?
What?
They will send you to collections.
No.
And that goes on your record. they'll still put you on the hook for it.
So Money Dad has had to go be put on his record that he's bad at money.
Back,
Dad,
when
you're fired.
Hey,
You're fired.
it was last century.
Last century.
Last century. It's
don't
off
think
my
legally
credit
you can say
report,
that.
thankfully. It's hard to recover from medical
Yeah.
collections.
Yeah, that's rough.
Medical debt, if you negotiate with the provider, they've been pretty good with us historically.
Nice.
And good with you with your childbirth. Please don't just ignore it. Like I said, you're going to pay interest. You're better off to do that usually than borrowing. I've seen people borrow against their house. I've seen them throw it on a credit card.
Ah,
Yeah.
ah.
Negotiate with whoever provided it, and they typically will work with you.
Okay. Yeah, I will say sorry. I remember back to when I think it was with my delivery with Blake, they wanted to do a bunch of like testing and stuff. Or maybe it was just when I was pregnant, I think, cuz honestly, it's not just the delivery expense. You've got like all the appointments leading up to it. My sweet, beautiful sisters having to experience all of that now, right? And, well, I guess when we air this in December, hi,
Sawyer.
baby Sawyer. but I remember at a couple appointments, there was this one time where they were like, do you want us to screen you for STDs? Can I say that on here? I'm saying it. Listen, but I'm married for now 9 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, I'm clean. No, thank you. I was like, no, thank you. I don't want that testing. I feel very confident that that's not an issue in my life, right? And they were like, well, we should probably screen you. And I was like, no, I'm denying this test. I don't want to pay for something that I already know the answer to, and that's not something. Anyway, so I denied it. They ran the test anyway. Yeah, and then they tried to charge me for it, many $100s. And so when we got the bill, Dustin was like, what is this? And I was like, actually, I'm a little perturbed about it because they asked me and I denied that, right? So that was something that we had to like call them and we had to like fight them on it because they were like, well, we ran the test and we wouldn't have run it if you weren't okay with it. And I was like, except you literally did. So yeah, I definitely think negotiating and calling and standing your ground because, man, are they sneaky buttheads.
They are.
Sneaky,
And
sneaky
that's
buttheads.
funny. You know, the billing department can be, but the finance department just wants you to make some sort of payment.
Yeah.
So it's like two different departments.
Oh, that's different departments?
It is different departments.
Billing and financing? Is that what you said?
Yeah. So just
Money
say, we
departments,
can
I don't
afford
know.
it. Can we talk to the finance department?
All right. Awesome. Awesome.
So
All right, cool.
it's not necessarily good debt, but it's a good way to not have bad debt.
Okay. That
Especially
makes sense.
a good way to not go to collection.
Yeah. Don't do like dad.
That's right. Don't do what I did. 20th century dad.
20th century.
That's right.
That's bananas. All right. Let me think. I think that's all the debt things that I can think of. We've got okay debt. We've got not okay debt.
Yeah. I mean, credit cards in general, just most of the time bad. Unless...
Credit cards are as long as you pay it off right away, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And we've talked about it in 2 or 3 other episodes.
Yep.
If you have it set to, I do auto pay for the full balance.
Yeah.
Not the minimum payment, the full balance.
Full balance.
Yep. Because anything you put on credit card is likely going to be worth less.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I said going back to college. If you can't sell it back
Right.
for what you paid for it, it's probably bad debt.
I'd actually like to sell back the education. I'm not using it. Never mind.
Yeah, or my Starbies or
My little Starbies.
yeah. So
Yep.
that's bad debt. So that's credit cards, everything you
Okay.
can't sell back.
Okay.
Bad debt.
All right.
So
Nice.
what we haven't talked about, and you've never had to see yourself go through this unless
What is it?
you're looking at the line items. How do you get out of debt?
Call your dad. Ask, Dad, what do I do?
Yeah. And I say you haven't seen it because we do know that young Dustin also was not always fiscally responsible.
That's right. Sweet boy. His
He
favorite story, I think I told it on a previous episode, was
he's a
with
music
his-
major.
he was a music major. He's using that, though. He's using that education.
Not for income.
For the Lord, so I guess that works, right? He plays in the band at church. But no, but when he had his student loans, right, he like bought a bunch of motorcycles.
Yeah.
Remember?
And
He was
a
whole
guitar.
Oh, and a couple guitars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he
you
definitely was not
you
financially very
personally
responsible.
haven't
But he was cute, so
That's right. But he had a plan to pay off, and it wasn't wait for somebody to sign a piece of paper in the White House to pay it off.
what?
It was, okay, we have this debt. For the longest time, it was 0% because
Yeah.
pandemic. They said so. He's worked ways to get out of debt.
Yeah.
And so I think just real briefly,
Mm-hmm.
we might need to do a second episode on how to get out of debt. We've talked
Okay.
a lot about budgeting and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You basically got to start squeezing money out to pay it back.
Does that mean pause your Starbucks addiction?
It probably means it. It doesn't mean beans and rice and beans.
No.
We've done that in a different episode.
Sorry, Dave.
Sorry, Dave. We got to eat more than beans and rice.
Believe it or not.
Or we're going to go crazy when we can.
Yep.
But it means squeezing out ways to pay off your debt sooner.
Okay.
Dave Ramsey, which I support because psychologically the debt snowball works.
Yeah.
For those of you that haven't heard of it, it's basically you take your smallest payment. So say you owe $500 and $1,000.
Okay.
Make it easy.
Yeah.
You would, no matter the interest rate, you would pay off the $500 one first.
Not the bigger one.
Not the bigger one, because emotionally, you know how good it feels.
Oh, yes.
You're like,
I do that with chores.
you do the hardest one first. The smallest one
I
first.
do the easiest one first because I get that dopamine rush of like, yes, I did put away
Gotcha.
those 3 dishes on the drying rack. I can do anything now.
See, and I do the opposite.
Dustin does the opposite too.
I'm like, let's get the worst one out of the way.
Oh no, I gotta prepare myself. I gotta build up my
Yep.
dopamine levels for that.
Yeah. But psychologically, the reason the Dave Ramsey debt snowball works
Mm-hmm.
is because you get that reward of
Yeah.
now and let's imagine instead of 2 payments, you had 10. And you had
Okay.
10 bills every month coming to your email.
Oh,
Please
that's-
don't do paper statements. This post office is awful.
Yeah. Okay.
You may not get your paper statements.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, trust us.
He's speaking from
Yeah.
experience.
As our neighbors always at our office always get our mail and we get theirs. Anyways.
Yeah. Fun.
So when your email box is filling up, say you're getting 10 emails a month of, hey, this bill is due.
Okay.
It's rewarding if you pay the smallest one off first because it's easiest
Mm-hmm.
to now have 9, and then you have 8, then you have 7. Because using that example, if you were paying $50 a month towards that first one,
Yeah.
once that one is paid off, you keep paying 50, but you apply that to the next payment. So say you were paying 50 on the second payment, now you're paying 100 on the second payment. You're just rolling it down. That snowball goes down the hill.
That totally makes sense.
So for somebody who is more emotional about money, that reward of, cool, I'm 10, now I'm 9, now I'm 8. And then when you're
Yeah.
down to 3, you're just like, let's
Yeah.
keep it going.
Yeah. 100%.
And similar to what we were talking about with your car loan,
Yeah.
then when all of those are paid off, say you've been paying $700 a month towards debt,
Right.
you start saving that $700 so you don't go into debt.
Yeah.
So the Dave Ramsey snowball works psychologically.
Okay.
From a math person,
Mm-hmm.
and we actually provide free spreadsheets. Drop us a comment if you'd like one.
Yeah.
You can flip it and say, well, what is my most expensive debt?
Okay.
Because what if your $500 was 0% interest for 5 years,
Ooh, yeah.
but your $7,000 one was 20% interest?
That's bad.
Very good. You're not even a math person.
I'm not a math person, but that sounds real
Yep.
bad.
So I'm going to tell myself I need to pay as much as possible at that 20% interest one
Yeah.
to get that out of the way. So we have a spreadsheet where you can actually flip it and say,
Oh, nice.
let's pay off my highest interest rate first.
Perfect.
Or you can do the Dave Ramsey snowball and you do your lowest payment. But the key is start squeezing money out to pay more than your minimum payment.
Okay.
Thankfully now I don't like a lot of government regulations, but at some point in the last 5 or 6 years, they start showing you on your statement. Please open your statements, by the way, and see how much interest you're paying.
Okay.
It'll say if you make the minimum payment, it's going to take you 75 months. But if you pay $100 more, you're going to have this paid off in 24 months.
Oh, what?
So do not make the minimum payments either. Try
Yeah.
to squeeze money out. That's kind of the broad range philosophy. Taking all the budgeting stuff we've talked about in other episodes is squeeze out some money and pay it off.
Okay.
Whatever works best for you is the best solution.
Perfect. Yeah.
Not,
makes sense.
Not what math says, what works best for you personally.
Yeah.
And like you've learned, the best solution is don't get into debt.
Yes.
But if you are, or if you were forced into it,
Mm-hmm.
try to find strategies to not do it again. Like
Right.
young Jeff.
That's right. Exactly. All right.
So.
Awesome. So we've got okay debt, not okay debt, what to do if you're already in debt,
Yeah. Terrible debt.
terrible debt. I don't know. Is there anything else for debt that we want to cover?
No, I think the main thing is you're never going to get it perfect. You're going to make
Yeah.
a mistake. I mean, just like anything in life.
Yeah.
When you screw up, acknowledge what you did and figure out a way to not do it again.
Yeah.
And, don't be shamed.
No, yeah.
You see some of these Dave Ramsey videos on social media, and they're just shaming people for this and
Aw.
that. And everybody runs into financial problems.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're here to help. Comment. I know we now have a link for people to ask questions.
Perfect.
If you don't want to ask, in front of the world, then have your name,
Yeah.
who is this duck
Corinne really wants
1992?
Corinne wants to know, what if you're in a lot of debt because of Duncan?
Yeah.
That might be a little embarrassing.
Yeah. But if
Yeah.
you do have something, you have just a question where you just want a direct response.
Yeah.
We now have a comment button. If you have a
Perfect.
question or an idea for an episode,
Yeah.
I know Anissa's given us like 7.
Yes.
So coming in 2025 is a whole lot of other things. So keep following us.
Yep.
Share it, please, if there's people that you think that can help. We want to help
Yeah.
for free.
Yeah.
Just again, never feel shame about the financial situation you're in. There's always ways out of it, and there's always ways to get better.
That's right.
Even if you become a financial advisor,
That's right.
you'd be surprised how many mistakes they made growing up. So I think that's it.
I think that's it.
All right,
Awesome.
New year.
Nice.